There's no such thing as sight reading. And my perspective and what I propose to my students is that everything in music is some variation of the spelling and sound of a major scale. The major scale is the starting point. And so if you take a major scale and you change the rhythm, then you have a diatonic melody. If you take a major scale and you present every other note instead of presenting them consecutively, well, now you have an arpeggio. You take that arpeggio, you stack it on top of each other, stack those notes on top of each other, now you have a chord. You take those chords and you start on note 2, note 3, note 4, note 5 of the scale. Now you have functional harmony. If you take that scale and you start on note 2, note 3, note 4, now you have modes. If you add chromatic passing tones to those modes, now you have a melodic presentation of the functional harmony. Jazz players call those bebop scales. I think classical players just call them chromatic passing tones, but they're there for the same reason. It doesn't really matter what you call them. If you're studying ear training, you're comparing sounds. Well, what's the original sound? Well, you learn what a major scale sounds like, and everything else kind of offshoots from there. So in order to have variations, you have to have an original state of normalcy for those variations to vary from. You have to have something to vary from. If you want to be a nonconformist, you have to have an agreed upon state of conformity. If you want to rebel, you have to have something to rebel against. If you want to be divergent, you have to have something to diverge from. So normal doesn't mean good and variation bad. The state of normalcy is like the most boring nothing. I mean, if you're making soup, the state of normalcy is boiling water, right? The variables is when all the cool stuff happens, but if you don't have the constant, you can't have the variable. And so music theory, all music theory is labeling these variations. And that's all theory of anything is labeling things that were already there so that we can study and discuss them and figure out how to use them in a practical way. So just memorizing the names of things is not the same thing as knowing it, right? And so we give these variations names so that we can find ways to use it. And once you understand conceptually how these things work and how to use it to read, write, and improvise music, the labels don't really matter anymore unless you're trying to discuss it or explain it to someone else, right? And so this is why scale sheets are so sinister, because when students use a scale sheet instead of learning the spelling and the sound, and they focus only on the technique and the muscle memory and the rhythmic memory, well, that's one of the variables. And now you're trying to base a variable on other variables. And so you've eliminated the concrete state of normalcy. And without an agreed upon state of normalcy, then it eliminates all of the other variables and the rest of the musical universe disappears like Thanos snapping his fingers. My name's Mark Dooley. I've been a private music teacher for 36 years, focused on practical theory and music literacy. If you'd like to hear more, follow me. If you'd like lessons, contact me. If you can learn how to read words, you can learn how to read music.